Hello, everybody, and I'm back again with a very special interview indeed. Somebody I've been wanting to speak to for an awful long time, I have to say. I'm pleased to welcome on Georgia Smith, of course, daughter of the legendary and soon-to-be Hall of Famer this year, Davy Boy Smith, the British Bulldog. How are you, Georgia, and how have you been doing?
Oh, well, thank you. I've been trying to keep busy with the COVID thing. And as you can see, my dad's stuff is just booming. It's so busy. Obviously there hasn't been any content or new things of my dad in like the past 20 years. But yeah, he's a really, really busy individual. He's got
Yeah.
deals coming all over the place, and Hall of Fame is a documentary. And I'm just really glad that he's getting the recognition and attention and credit he deserves.
Absolutely, absolutely. Can second that more. And I have to, before we start this, I have to say this because I'd be amiss if I didn't. But of course, in 2015, when I decided I'd always been in and around wrestling as production and goodness knows what else, but to get into the media, I wanted to start a podcast in 2015. And the first person I reached out to was your mum, of course. We've
Oh,
been speaking on and off since 2011, just sharing stories. And then her book was just coming out, so I said, come on, we'll talk about your book, because we'd had all these odd conversations about what it's like as a writer, where you have to almost be quite selfish in those times when you need
mhm.
to just concentrate. And
Zone, yeah.
yeah, she was absolutely fantastic. I was a nervous wreck, but she was fantastic. I was even more of a nervous wreck when I found out on Skype. I thought, you know what, I'll get away with this. We can just do audio. No, your mum was like, no, let's switch him on. I want to see your face. We've got to do this properly. And yeah, she was absolutely brilliant and really put me on the map. So I can't say
Oh, good.
enough good things about your mum, Diana Hart, of course.
Thank
And I
you. I'll
hope
tell
she's
her.
well.
Yeah, she's good.
I
I
hope
was just
she's well.
messaging her, so I'll tell her, well, all the nice
Please
things
do.
you said, and that you said hi.
Thank you very much. Yes. And of course, normally doing these interviews, I would love to do it, of course, normally in person. I would always offer my guest
Mhm.
a drink, pick your poison, whatever that would be. But, we can't do that for now. But of course, I would have loved to have done that beforehand. Okay, straight off the bat, I know you've probably been asked this many a times thus far, but of course, you've done all this amazing work. And, even talking about 2015, I remember on that interview saying to your mum, like, when is this going to happen? And your mum at the time was like, do you know what? I don't think nothing's in the pipeline. She seemed to be under the impression that the only way it was going to happen sooner was if your brother Harry was going to be re-signed, and that could be the only way in. And it just seems like, me being a British wrestling fan, it has gone on forever
Sorry,
without
my brother's
seeing
just
this.
making me laugh right now.
He's probably thinking,
He just did this little dance just now. Sorry.
we should
Sorry.
have got that. We should have got that in.
We
No,
should
no,
have.
that's fine. We
We
should have
should have.
got that in. That would have made it even more exciting. Yeah, so it was really looking doom and gloom back then. But obviously, last year we were expecting to see it. We're going to get it this year, which I'm so happy about, and I know you are as well. But one of the interesting things, I saw you on Wrestling Travel, and you made a really good point, and it kind of hit home to me, is that it kind of feels like to me, and if I'm you, you've done all this amazing work. You've worked your socks off getting this to happen, all the stuff you've done, and then it happens. It's kind
Yeah.
of like, do you think there's going to be a feeling for you, like personally, like it's done, or do you feel like there'll be weight off your shoulder, or do you kind of want more after that, like this legacy to continue in other forms?
That's a very good point, and how you said that, like, weight off my shoulder, because I think you probably, and my dad's fans probably feel the same way. And just like in 2015, it's like, when is this going to happen? When is this? And we're waiting and waiting and waiting. And I think he, in my opinion, is probably the most anticipated person going in the Hall of Fame over the years. So I feel like, wow, I've accomplished everything that I wanted my dad to do, and he's got some more things coming up with WWE that's happening, different merchandise that I can't wait for you guys to see. The initials for that is FP, if you want to put that together. So, and rhymes with hop. I've got that, something like that coming up. And that's going to be a very anticipated piece of merchandise that I've personally been waiting for, and lots of people. And Yeah, so he's got lots of things happening, and it's like what you said. Like it's just like, wow, this has all happened, and what am I gonna like? What's the next step? I'm gonna keep working on his legacy and his brand, and he's doing a lot of things outside of WWE, and I want to continue that journey. I'd like to do a movie about my dad's life. But at the same time, I feel like the chapter with me personally with WWE, like that's like this is the closure. It's like this is everything all like in a packaged bow, and it's like okay, I feel like my work is done there, and if Harry does go back there, then he will be continuing on, his creating his legacy and continuing my dad's legacy. But yeah, I think my work will be done. My closure will be reached.
Yes, absolutely. And you hit the nail on the head with a film. I really do believe there's a good movie opportunity. Producers out there, get involved, get behind it, because I would love to see. I'm not, like some films are really good when you look at somebody's whole career, their sort of map of an art of work, and then also you can pick moments. And obviously, to us over here, and SummerSlam '92, what that meant for UK wrestling, I think up until the point that we've got NXT UK now, it kind of all transcended from 1992 in a lot of
Yeah.
ways. Obviously, there was a gigantic Sky Sports deal got made after that, and that stayed on for almost ever. I mean, just all over the place. So there's it's often said in the UK there are a huge batch of fans that have pretty much gone on and on since '92, sharing those memories, and it's always been there. I would love for like a film in those years, like that really peak time,
Peak time.
for them
Yeah.
to capture that moment, because
Yeah.
I believe there'd be some great stuff that you could get with that. But yeah, I mean the whole, I mean, if you think about it, I know we've got Young Rock that's going down well in the States, but I mean, you think about your whole family and the arc. I'm sure with your mum, you could have probably 4 seasons of that, of different generations of you guys in the Hart family home. I'm sure that would make for some good entertainment. I don't know who you'd have in mind to play all the characters. I think your grandfather Stu Hart, that would have to be a seriously good actor. And somebody
Anthony Hopkins or something. Yeah.
Yeah, you've got it there. You're onto something. But yeah, I would love.
Yeah, you make a good point. Because like all of those stories, like with my dad and with my family, like you can't put it in like 2 hours or like an hour and a half or 3 hours. It would have to be a series, like you said. I agree.
Yeah, no, totally. I would be all for that. And series is the new thing anyway now. Everyone loves a series and binge watching and all the rest of it. I really want to ask you, because your mum said to me, and I keep going back to your mum, so I do apologize. I'm putting her over here big time. But no, she said to me, you know what, my daughter at the time, she's got a real sound mind for wrestling, and she said to me that she thought you was quite underestimated at the time, about your knowledge and wisdom. So I've got to ask you, as somebody, you're the daughter of Davey, I know you've been going back watching a lot of his matches.
Yes.
Over time, like now, what is your tastes in wrestling and how has it changed? Are you somebody that enjoys the current stuff, or do you kind of tend to treasure the sort of older times? Have you got like a certain type of wrestling that you enjoy maybe over other things?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I do enjoy the product now, but obviously, I love going back and watching like the WWF Superstars on like not Netflix, the WWE Network. I love watching that. And like I've been going back and watching some more of my dad's stuff from '93 with WCW with like him and Sting, which I thought was like an underrated team. I thought they made a really good team. So that I really, really like watching those. I don't really. Oh, and I like his late '90s stuff, like when he came back. I've been watching a lot of that when he was like in the jeans. Yeah. Those are my top favorite times for sure.
Yeah. I used to, when he came back, I remember I was in the last years at school and I used to pretend I was Davy Boy Smith on the football pitch at the times. And I used to do this thing that my teacher used to get annoyed with me. I don't know. It's something I used to pick up from your dad. He used to do this thing where he'd get in the ring and he'd like at the
Yeah, I know
top
what
all
you're talking
the
about.
time. And I
Yeah.
used to do that, and it used to drive my teachers nuts. They're like, "Stop doing that!" And I'm like, "I don't need to do it. It's what I do now." It was like my little kind of thing on a football pitch to psych out somebody else. But that time was quite fascinating. I remember him being involved in a six-pack match, and I was
Mhm.
really rooting for him to win it. And then he was doing some quite fun stuff in and around with Triple H and
The Rock.
Stephanie and
Yeah.
things. Yeah, I thought it was a completely different side that we hadn't seen from him at that time, and it was
That's
almost
I,
like,
I agree. I completely agree, and that's why I think I go back and I appreciate it so much. We saw a different side to him. Absolutely, you nailed that on the head. Yeah.
and one thing I always say to people that I don't know if it gets spoken about much, but I used to enjoy the team between Owen and Davy like so much, just their
Oh yeah,
chemistry.
and like
And
there's
what I mean by that, and it's really hard for modern day fans to kind of capture what I'm talking about, because if you watch a WWE entrance now, it's almost like a video game. Sometimes it's the same thing every time to the camera angles. It's almost become too perfect. But when I used to watch Owen and Davey come out, just the stuff they used to come up with off the fly. I don't know, where like Owen was playing the whole jealousy part and he wanted to be the leader of the team. He'd have the slammies up there and he'd had to just be behind him like, oh, come on. I've got to say, like, I'm really interested to know with your dad, and I'm fascinated to know backstage, was he somebody that was quite mellow and chilled? Because obviously on camera, that's how he came across all the time. Like, you only got snippets. I think I got a few snippets in like a few of the documentaries where I'd see your dad walking around and backstage trying to inquire certain things. But was he quite relaxed?
Mhm.
Somebody backstage, like a presence?
Yeah, he was very mellowed, very go with the flow. Quiet, but like not too quiet. But yeah, he was just pretty much like just he didn't really dispute or argue about anything. If it was like, okay, where you're gonna lose, he wasn't like didn't he was like, okay. He obviously wrestling and winning was important to him, and he would have loved to have been world champion, but he just was always professional and just rolled with the punches, and that's a good word. Yeah, he was very mellow. Yeah, for sure. And
Cool.
in
Yeah.
wrestling and at home as well.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. I mean, yeah, he always kind of come across like as that cool, calm, relaxed, but yet so huge in presence to
Mhm.
watch. Like he had what I would call screen presence. You get that with some actors in films, and they just have it. And they just fade into the background because they're so good at what they're doing. They don't stand out either. Like somebody like a Leo or a Tom Hanks, they play some crazy characters, but
Yeah.
they're just really good at that moment. What are some of your fondest memories that you've gone back to, that you've appreciated as you've got older, um, of your dad? Like, is there any matches that stand out that maybe you didn't appreciate at the time, when you was a bit younger, that you've gone
Mhm.
back on and seen things?
Yeah, so I never really watched, like I was telling you, I've been going back and watching a lot of his 93 stuff, but there's a match with him and William Regal. It was like on a Halloween
Right.
Havoc, and I was like,
Yeah.
whoa, oh my God. Like I didn't realize, and actually with William Regal, actually like appreciate like how good he is too. Because obviously like my dad, I'm biased, he's my favorite top British wrestler of all time. But with those two, I was like, whoa, these two can really work good together. And I wish
Hmm.
like they worked together more, like did a tag team, like for a match or something. But yeah, that match in particular, yeah, it was a Halloween Havoc match, and William Regal does such a good job being like the hoity-toity, English villain, and then you've got my dad, who's like the hero-looking godlike guy, and yeah, I just love the match and like how my dad was moving. He was doing like oh God, what is it called? Handsprings. What is it called? He was doing like back handsprings. Sorry, my
Right.
brain's right now. Yeah, he was doing like back
That's cool.
handsprings, and and I was like, for his size and how he was moving was incredible. And I also like, just in general, these matches that my dad had in the early 90s, you gotta keep in mind, in like 88, 89, yeah, it was 89, my dad had a horrific car accident, like horrific, where he probably, shouldn't have pursued wrestling again, possibly. But it's like my dad had that mentality, like, well, you know, he had that winner's mentality where it's like, I'm not going to sit here and not do anything. And look at all that stuff he did after that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he had so many different versions of himself. I know, like, to a lot of people, it's often, you know, the sight of with the dreadlocks and all the rest of it. Like, I certainly, the figures I had was all about that, but there was a lot more to him after. I mean, obviously the stuff with Lex as well that you
Mhm.
remember. I
Yeah.
just remember we talk about some of the stuff, and I know you've got like a closet full of stuff. I've seen it
Mhm.
in one of your interviews, and I was just like, I need to get there. That would be, I'd be in Aladdin's cave, I can assure you. But some of those jackets your dad had were like huge. I mean, they look massive. I don't know if that was just like prop like that, or they were the legit thing, but they look pretty big, especially the WCW ones when he was doing the stuff with Sting. I felt, was your dad quite keen on that kind of side of things, or was he influenced? Like, where was your dad's influences on that kind of stuff? Was your mum involved in that with him, or was he kind of somebody that would go out and go, you know what, that'd look good, I think I should go with that? And or was it, you know, just down to the promoter?
Like with his gear, with his looks.
Yeah.
Well, my mom, believe it or not, she came up with the braids because she
Right.
said, nobody's doing it. It stands out. It looks different. And when you associate the braids with wrestling, it's like it's Davy, right?
Yeah.
And just he had it's been that iconic look. And my dad, he had the face to make it work. But at first, when he was first got it, his hair wasn't. It was like kind of short, and then it was like that mullety look, and it was all extensions. But you know, as he went to WCW and like 93, 94, well, you saw how long my dad's hair was actually.
Hmm.
But yeah, she came up with that. And with his gear, my dad had the same guy who made Randy Savage's gear and Brutus Beefcake's gear, and I think Ultimate Warrior's gear, named Michael Braun. He
Right.
lives in Florida, and he made Jimi Hendrix's gear. I think there's a documentary about that on Netflix that he's on.
Okay.
But he made those iconic outfits, and they, to this day stand out. And even when, you're watching wrestling back then and you're in the audience and you see like the ring, who's who with all the colors and everything.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
dad really wanted to incorporate the Union Jack, and he was like, because he was so proud of where he was from, and he wanted it displayed literally, and he did, from head to toe, from the red, white, and blue beads, the armbands, the tights, the boots, the cape, earrings. He really really drilled
Yeah.
at that.
He went all in with that, no
All in.
doubt about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, all in. Yeah, that's the thing that stands out differently back then, and why I say that, you know, the British Bulldog, although, you know, he never got, which was unfortunate because I always felt he should have got the belt, in my opinion.
I agree.
There were two occasions especially I felt, but in any case, I think what stands out is the fact that he still has left this legacy, and it
Mhm.
goes to show you how, like, it wasn't just British Bulldog, like, you had a whole list of wrestlers around him that were so over, and he was in the midst of it all. He was in amongst it, and it was a different time. Like, you could have easily got lost if you didn't
Mhm.
have something to bring to it all. And this was an era where characters were so over the top, and it was like you had to have, you know, I always call it a time where you was everything but a wrestler sometimes in terms of
Mhm.
your occupation. But your dad kind of had something where he could still be a wrestler, thank goodness, but just a patriotic, you know,
Yes.
British wrestler that goes out there. And I loved that. And yeah, every time he'd come over, only earlier today, I was actually watching the Royal Albert Hall, the Rumble that
That's
took
Saturday
place
one.
there. And
Yeah.
yeah, that was, I hadn't seen that for a long time, but it made me smile because you could see how popular he was. I mean, people were like jumping out their seats in that place, and
So
it does
popular.
go to show you how different the audience was back then, in general. So listen, while we're here and while we're talking about some of the great stuff your dad wore, obviously you've joined up with Wrestle Merch
Yeah.
Central, and you got some fantastic items. I was on there earlier on. I've ordered a few bits myself, but some stuff that stood out to me that I would like people to check out. And don't forget, our friends, just going to block our faces off here, but Wrestle Merch Central, there you go. That's the place to go. And I want you guys to go over there and check this stuff out. It is well worth it. They've got loads of stuff for your dad. Have you been a part of this process, this collaboration? And the influences behind some of the stuff. This is one of my favorites, only because I do like Paul Heyman, and this stood out to me. So I was like, I would love that. I love that from you. I think that's fantastic. But was you how big a part of the collaboration was you with those guys, and some of the ideas behind, some of the stuff that we've seen?
Yeah, since like day one. Actually, Dean from Wrestle Merch, he works with event merchandise, and he's been doing that for a long, long time. And when I was living in England, I remember him and I were going back and forth, and he was saying like how they wanted to start a wrestling store, and lo and behold, back in June, I think it was during like the heat of COVID, he messaged me and he was like, "Yeah, we're gonna go forward with this." And it's crazy because I'd see with my dad's site at the bottom of it, I had started my dad's website, and I wanted to get some new merchandise and things going for him, and I didn't really know how to go about it. And then Dean was like, it was just happened. Like, we all came together, and he's done a great job, better than any job I could have done on my own. So it's just worked. And my dad's store was the first Wrestle Merch store, and I love it. Like this hoodie, this is like my go-to hoodie. As I've said before, I get this with leggings, and it's my dad. This is my dad's thoughts on COVID.
Oh no, that's cool.
And
I saw your dad doing that. I saw you post something where he had the wrong finger, and to us over here, we might think that is offensive. I thought that was a hilarious post that you found. I think it was him in a gym or something, or a video. But yeah, that's very good.
And they put it on, merchandise, and I actually have a pillow from Wrestle Merch over there with my dad doing that. But they have all sorts of things, and we're coming up with new things all the time. Dean and I were going back and forth. We're doing British Bulldog fanny packs, where I call them fanny packs.
Let's put that on now. There it is. This is a favorite. I will be getting one of these.
I love it.
Just because it's nostalgia, and I'm a little bit of a geek like that. I would love that, to go to some wrestling shows and be walking around. Yeah, you can't beat that. And I think this is, there we go.
Oh, I was wearing that hoodie today. I just was wearing it. I love that hoodie.
The one I'm really interested in is this. I think this is absolutely amazing. It was such a cool time, the Heart Foundation in general, and the fact that this is on there to be sold is incredible. It looks really good as well. I'm a person that enjoys skulls. I love skulls. I'm covered in skulls as much as I can, so that's always a winner with me. But yeah, I thought that was absolutely brilliant that you've got that on there as well. And there is loads more stuff. I mean, there is like everything you can think of.
It is.
They've got it covered with your dad, so it's really good. And yeah, I couldn't believe, I was almost like, I need to get it all, but I've got to calm down a little bit. But
that's like me.
Be investing.
As you can see, I just took a shower, and I've got a Wrestle Merch Winston towel that I use.
Right. Good old Winston.
Yeah,
oh my goodness.
Winston with the dreads, with the braids.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm just so happy that it's happened. And my dad, like, he would be loving this. Like, this is amazing, and I'm glad it's all happening. Like, it just all happened naturally, and it's made in England.
Yes, there you go. You can't see. That really fits in with stuff. Now, before we come to a close of this interview, I've got just a couple of questions for you. Now, I've got to say, obviously, the Hall of Fame is coming up. Now, I'm not expecting you to tell us what exactly you're going to say and all the rest of it. Don't be silly. But I've got to say, like, how do you prepare for this? WWE, do they say, like, listen, you've got X, Y, Z time. You got to fit this in. I mean, how is that process working? And how are you, I suppose, given everything you've done, especially with all these interviews, it must be hard to then find like the right parts to bring up in the Hall of Fame, because the Hall of Fame speeches, I mean, some of them have gone forever, and then some are quite short. I go back to the Bushwhackers. It's one of the most funniest one you'll ever watch. It just cracks me up every time I listen to those guys speaking. But yeah, you want to tell stories, and then you kind of, it's very hard, I think, to capture everything in like a certain time. But have you got something in mind? Have you had this sort of set aside for a time, or is this something you've only thought about since the whole announcement from last year?
It's a tough call, because when we were told about it last year we were they told us, like, very strict on time because, of the past things. I guess Hillbilly Jim did a speech and it was like 45 minutes long or something. I don't know what happened, but, and then, the year before with, Brett got attacked, and then, that
Yeah.
really, delayed, it couldn't have been helped. I mean, it could have been, but
No.
it was
Yeah.
just, the protocol. And so this is what they want. They told Harry that it's going to be very, very quick, and with like the audience and the live stuff, but we're not going to have an audience this year, as you can imagine. So I don't know if like that's going to, if like we're going to pre-record it, and I have no idea. I have actually no idea what we're going to do, but when I speak, it will just be very quick. I'm guessing not a whole lot of time. I'll probably get like maybe a minute or two. So like what you said, it's like, how do I gather all of, my dad's career and memories and his legacy, and like, what do I, I think what I'm going to do is pretty much just say thank you to certain people, and say thank you to like Wrestle Merch, and thank you to his fans, and thank you to Michael Finney for starting the petition, and thank you to everybody that's just show my appreciation and just how proud I am and how happy I am for my dad. That's pretty much what I'm going to say, because I'm just going to keep it very to the point. But Harry might be given more time, so we'll see. But that's going to be it. It's like I would like my mom to speak too, but I don't know. Us
Yeah.
talk a lot, so
yeah, it's kind of overwhelming for me to think about it. So it must be really stressful as well for you, to be thinking of that moment. Because, like I say, it's been such a long build.
It is, and now I'm like, okay, well, what do I do? What do I say? Where do I begin? Where do I begin?
Yeah.
And my dad, I was telling WWE when we were filming, it's like the guy that was filming us, he didn't really know a lot about wrestling. He was just like a freelance film guy during COVID filming us. And he was just like, just from the sounds of it, he was like, your dad died young. He was like, but it seems like, his career was like 1,000 years. It seems like he lived for 1,000 years. And I was like, I know. He was like, there's just been so many moments and so many looks and so many memories. And I'm like, absolutely, it's true. And that's just another reason why he's a legend and he's an icon. And you guys will see that in his new documentary coming up. I don't have a specific date for it, but it's gonna tell his story, and I hope you guys will be happy with it. You'll see me, you'll see Harry and my mom, and they've actually filmed in England and film my granddad, and I'm really quite proud of it, and I put my heart and soul into it. I was a little cringe today when I saw a picture of them filming me for it, that somebody sent me like a still from WWE, and I had some skin issues at the time. And I'm like, oh God, but that's not about that. It's about us telling the story. But I'm really excited about it, except for that part.
Well, you know what? That's a small thing, I think, to worry about. I think you've done well. Like, trust me, it'll come out great. I'm really looking forward to watching that episode as well. Just you saying about you was worried about what to say. The one good thing with WWE that you can always count on them for is their production videos. They always do. They always knock that out of the park. The whole Pat Patterson one they did recently. To celebrate his life. I mean, that was just so well done, I thought. And they always do very well with those kind of things. So a lot of the times through pictures and videos, you get quite a good reflection of most of the stuff. And you saying about the guy that came to do the filming, it's probably, I would say it's probably a great perspective to have somebody that doesn't know wrestling tell you that, because we're all so into it that we kind of just, we've got our own it's like a subconscious bias almost, but it's great when you have a non-wrestling fan show up and be like, you know what, they've had like this amazing career, and it sounds like he's gone on for thousands of years, and he's right, because if you go back on it, if you think about it, like there's just moment after moment after moment back then, and I don't think we can quite appreciate it in today because it was very different back then, and
Very
the
different.
evolution was moving fast. Now I find everything is kind of, if anything, too perfect. If that's a thing
Yeah,
to moan about, but
I absolutely agree with you. I think like and I think that's what made it more special then, like back when, you know, my dad, because like you said, it wasn't perfect, and
yeah.
they did such good promos, and now it seems like it's just kind of all like it has to be like pristine and perfect in a certain way. I that's a very good point. Yeah, I agree.
Which I dislike. Before we go, I've got to ask you, of course, like you've had some moments with, of course, MLW and stuff like that. Do you plan to come back and do some more stuff within wrestling, or are you kind of like just going to take a little break for yourself after all this? Because you must be quite. It has to be quite tiring as well. Like I
Mhm.
know that you've been into this for so long. Like I say, I can't express how much emotion you must have because this has been such a long time coming. So, have you got like plans afterwards, like any future plans? Obviously, maybe post a little bit more COVID and that's settling
Mhm.
down and all the rest of it. But do you have plans to come back and do anything within professional wrestling?
That's a very good question. I mean, I would love to. I actually applied for a position with them, but you know, you never know. I just was like, hey, I would love to be a part of it. But yeah, like you said, I think after the Hall of Fame and the documentary, I don't know when the documentary is going to air, but mostly after WrestleMania, I'm going to take a break, just have some Georgia time. Like you said, I've been working really, really hard, and I will, you know, daily I will keep doing my dad's stuff. But I think with me, I'm going to just take a break, and I will be not too active on social media, and just kind of see what's next for me, really. And
Yeah,
you know, I think like you said, I think that's what I need to do. And you know, I've been so. My dad has been this has been my number one priority, and I didn't want to ever take no for an answer. And but my dad, I think he wouldn't want me to forget myself in this whole process. He'd want me to be a part of it, you know, because you know he wants to see me happy, and I'm happy, obviously. But you know what I mean. I just yeah, I think it's time for George's next chapter.
yes, no, absolutely. You more than deserve it, 100%. And just to sign off, this is a kind of an odd question, but your dad, being from the UK, was he kind of still interested in a lot of the UK comedy, like the sense of humor? Because us Brits, we are
Hmm.
a little bit different. We do have, we don't always mix with the US humor. Did he adapt? I suppose I should say, or like, did he kind of modify to the US style of anything comedy, or maybe he wasn't even interested in comedy, or did he have shows and TV that he'd still kind of want to watch back in the UK and miss or whatever?
He loved Faulty Towers.
Okay, yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, he loved
That's a
Faulty
treasure.
Towers. Like he could rewatch the over and over. Yeah, he loved that. He liked Mr. Bean. He said Mr. Bean looked like dynamite.
There you go, Rowan Atkinson. To the
Oh,
time. That'll be the actor that plays him now.
yeah, Rowan
I'll
Atkinson.
see Rowan Atkinson in him.
Uh, yeah, he now I've got on my Roku. I've got like all these British TV channels. I think if he was here, he would appreciate all of that. ITV and Sky Sports, and it's like this little app I found. But yeah, he loved watching anything British. Yeah, and he
Right.
loved Austin Powers as well. I mean, obviously that was
Okay.
a movie, but he liked that. Um, yeah, my dad he had a really good sense of humor too.
Yeah, no, sounds it. No, so I want to thank you very much for your time. I know you are very busy in amongst it, but where can people go and find out more about, of course, Davy Boy Smith? I have plugged the website down here on the little scrolls, but where else can we go? Obviously, Wrestle Merch. I want to get people over there now. Go and check out the stuff. You will not be
Yes,
disappointed. They've got
you will love it.
literally everything covered for the British Bulldog. So if you want to support him for the Hall of Fame, post a picture, pose with it. I know you do a fantastic job with the Instagram. I don't know how on earth you keep up with that either, But 9 times out of 10, if I post something and tag you, you will always repost it. So there's a reason to go out and get one of these things, guys. Is like, you know, get that shot before the Hall of Fame. And I'm sure Georgia will do her best to work her magic on the social media. But where can we find you?
And speaking of which, I'm going to come out with a Hall of Fame shirt with wrestle merch for my dad. So
okay, nice.
Check that out when we're designs. So you can find my dad's website. It's www.davyboysmith.com. You can see frequently asked questions, or if there's a question that you guys were watching this and you think, oh, I want to ask Georgia this, or Harry this, or Diana this, feel free to ask a question. Just make sure it's nice and respectful. You can see my dad's diet, his workouts on there, any news. It's just all Davy. And his Instagram, as you mentioned, it's at the British Bulldog Davy Boy Smith. And on there, as you see, I post daily content, videos, art, anything. It's all dedicated to him. And, sometimes I'm like, oh, will I not have enough stuff? And I get new stuff, as you can imagine, all the time.
Yeah,
all the time. So it's going, and I'm going to keep that going as long as I can, and try to get him up to 70,000 by WrestleMania. That's the goal.
Yep.
That's his Instagram. His Twitter is @_Davy Boy Smith. And he has a Facebook, which is facebook.com/The British Bulldog. So please like, share, comment, support the man. If you guys want to follow me, it's my Instagram is @GeorgiaJSmith, and my Twitter is @GeorgiaSmith87. Facebook.com/GeorgiaSmith7. I like 7 because I was born in 87. So keep up to date, and can't wait to share with you guys some more news and projects and things coming out for my dad. And I'm just so glad it's all happening. And it is hard work, but I just care about it so much. And that's one thing that I've learned. And it's like, when you care about something, it doesn't matter what it is, you'll make it happen.
Yes, well said. No, thank you very much, and thank you for sharing some of those stories. It's been really nice to hear. Please say hello to your mum from me as well. Tell her a big thank you from me. She put me on the map back then, if there is anything. I'm not a huge thing, but she really helped me out a hell of a lot, and got me through it, coached me through it the whole way. But thank you very much, Georgia. It's been really nice to chat to you, and I can't wait until the Hall of Fame. I'm looking forward to the Icon show as well. So hopefully we'll have you on back again.
I would love to
when you're rested up on the other side, you're chilled, you're relaxed again, and hopefully a little bit better in the world as well. Stuff will start moving again. But thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
This is me, Mackenzie! She is